BeastNet podcast, sponsored in part by James Safety Services, OCR Buddy, and supported by the fitness community. Here we discuss all things fitness related, running, rucking, mental health and preparedness, and of course, obstacle course racing. Welcome to the BeastNet.
Hey everybody, it's Mike here, and on this episode I've got with me Ryan Hedinger. Ryan, let everyone know a little who you are. You've been on the show before, but I think it's been a while.
Yeah, the last time I was on the show was following the 2017 Iceland Agoge. So that was the last time I was on the show. In the Beast OCR, Warrior State of Mind, other OCR groups, got into it basically 2015 with Spartan Sprint, and then it grew from there and kept progressing. And then I kind of took it a step further for myself and went for some of the ultra runs themselves. Ended up doing a 50K last year. Was gearing up for a little bit more this year, but then everything went downward. So, but 5 years of doing this and physical exercise and getting really into everything. You know, I was a group exercise instructor teaching what was called RIPT, which was a cardio and weights type exercise. And so I was doing that and TRX. And then because of COVID, I was able to focus on my own workouts and me, and I've been doing it every day kind of since.
Right on. What else? You know, you've been focusing quite a bit of your own stuff and all that, and I know that COVID's changed things for a lot of people, but luckily both of us have been able to get out, and we got to do the Rise events both this year. How were those for you?
So seeing those advertised, right? Both the Rise Battle of the High Desert and the Rise Challenge for Troops.
Yeah.
I looked at those kind of like I didn't look at them as an OCR. I saw them more of a practical type exercise in a way, right? With the Battle of the HD, got me into things that I wasn't used to, which was the CrossFit style, using the deadlift for weights. I don't do many deadlifts. And then the keg presses. And then it threw in those other aspects that you would see maybe if you were in law enforcement or military or something else, to a practical application of that exertion then going into like a firearms, right? And for me that was how do you slow your breathing down? I mean, physical exertion, heart's racing, you're breathing heavy. I mean, for us here in Washington, actually on the coast, you know, we're at sea level, and then going up there to Bend, going up to that higher elevation, the altitude kind of played a factor in my breathing, the dry air. It felt like I was getting exhausted more. And so got down to that rifle range, and it's like trying to zero in on that target, and you're trying to calm your breathing down and calm everything down so you can focus. And it was difficult. Enjoyed it.
It was difficult, but I mean, I liked it because, like you said, it was a different challenge. It was one of those things like the evolution of your OCR. We started doing OCR in the beginning because we wanted something different, and this was a different, like you said, more practical. And the way they did it too, where you did the deadlift, you did the keg lift, and then you did the axe throw, and then did the shooting. So by the time you got to the shooting, you were already smoked from doing, you know, the lifts. And then, like you said, because we're at a different altitude, trying to control your breathing, plus you just did the lifts, it added a whole nother thing where it wasn't just walking on the range and taking a shot.
It did what it was supposed to do. It challenged us into something. When I first started Spartan, right, my first sprint, there were so many things that I could not do. I couldn't climb a rope. I had difficulties with the Herc hoist. But I made the decision that, okay, those were things I was going to focus on for the next time I went to an event a year later. I gave myself a year, and I was able to nail those things. I was able to climb a rope. I didn't have difficulty with Herc hoist. I was able to get through some of them, but then I struggled on others. And it's like, okay, it was a constant evolution in my training, in my exercises to get well rounded. Going here for this Battle of the High Desert, it was a totally different type of experience that challenged me. And what I asked the rifle instructor was, how do you calm your breathing? You know, going from this exertion, how do you calm your breathing? And I'm sorry, for those in that environment, our veterans, our military, our, you know, our police officers, when they have to go running chasing somebody, or they've got to do something physical, and then they've got to focus. I mean, that's kind of it. It's not the same thing that they're doing that I did, but I mean, I can kind of catch a glimmer of what it might be like.
Yeah.
A little glimpse of it.
No, and that's it. I mean, it's one of those things that, I mean, I think we're used to a lot of times, any of us that even been to the gun range, it's a controlled environment. You're not, you know, winded. You're not tired. You didn't just do 187-pound deadlifts, you know, and I think it gave a whole different, you know, like you said, it's not ideally what you know, you would do in real life, but I mean, it gives you that little idea of what it's like to do this when it's not a perfect environment.
Yeah, yeah. It's not hunting where it's like you're out there, you get that thrill, excitement of that covey or whatever that you spook up, or that deer or that buck fever, but is a little bit of heart racing environment. Your heart starts to pound a little bit. You know, I was excited for it. I'd never shot an AR-15, you know, so that was my first time with an AR-15, right? So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what am I going to expect here? You know, I just want to know. So and I mean, new experiences all around kind of for me.
Yeah, which was
Yeah,
amazing. And I mean,
I enjoyed
that first race was pretty cool. I mean, it was my first time with the, you know, the Rise events, doing something with them, and I mean, it was amazing. I mean, just the whole way it was set up, you know, it seemed random, but then you thought back on it and you're like, no, this is actually set up pretty neat, where it kind of, you know, you do the lifting first to kind of take you out of you, so you're not 100% once you hit the other parts. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially when you hit the mile course.
yeah, and then you do, after you've done, you know, the lifting, everything else, you do the axe throw, and even then your arms are shaking and you're trying to do the axe throw, and it was just close enough that you couldn't throw hard because then you get too much rotation. So you had to find that nice, easy lob kind of throw that would make it stick, but make it hard enough to stay in. So that got
Yeah.
interesting. And right after
The
that,
correct rotation with the correct
yep.
momentum and strength. It was, yeah, timing. It was all timing.
It was. And we didn't get to practice it. It was pretty much, you had 5 throws. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. And then, you know, like, then right after that, straight into the shooting. And then once you finished the shooting, you had a couple minutes maybe to kind of catch your breath and then take off on the mile course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that mile course was brutal. I mean, it was only a mile, but they threw a lot into that mile.
A lot into that mile. And again, you know, I can run here and I've got a good pace, and I can gauge my breathing here in Washington.
Yes.
I mean, I took off at a fast clip when I took out for that first sprint down to the first the obstacle, which was the tire flip. And I mean, halfway down there, it's like I had to cut back on my pace a little bit, slow down. Granted, the attire I was wearing, I tried to dress practical again, like it was not an OCR, like it was actual, it was urban or whatever, that I was going to have to put it to some use. So I mean, just the full, I was warm, I was hot, you know, and then the breathing on top of it and everything else prior to. It's like my legs were toast. I knew my arms were kind of tired. I'll tell you that I made the comment. Tyler Overmiller posted on Instagram his up and over the 12-foot wall. He was videoed, And as he's videoed up and over, I'm also there on that wall, fish flopping, trying to get over the wall. Hey, it's like I made it over. That's all that mattered. I made it. That's what counts, right? But it's just those little things. Okay, what do I need to work on for the next time? Because I do plan on going for the next time, right?
Oh, so do I.
That is my whole intention. Okay, this set a base for me on what I need to do. Now, granted, it's going to be different. I can't go to a gun range after doing all these exercises, right? I really can't do all that, but I can work on breathing exercises after I finish working out to where I can try to slow that pace, calm myself, and then steady.
Yeah, which is so true. And I mean, that's kind of one of those things that just, it kind of gave us a base. And I mean, it was really cool to test yourself in such weird ways. Like you said, you had that tire flip and the breathing was weird because of the altitude. And then that Atlas ball was freaking slick and heavy as hell.
Yeah.
I think they said, what, 102 pounds?
Yeah, it wasn't.
What Tammy said was 102. So it was a heavy sucker. I know that. So, and basically that was, I lifted that thing and it was one of those, I did everything I could to make sure I never had to set it down.
Yeah.
I think that's the most I've ever thought to make sure I carried the Atlas ball the entire way. Cause I'm like, I if I put this down, it's going to be a pain to get picked back up. So I'm just going to carry it. I even threw it up on my shoulder. So
that was my thought process. It's like, I'm on the way down. I'm like, okay, I'm going to set it down, reposition it, because I was holding it kind of, in that bear hug bucket style kind of carry in front. And I'm like, man, this is not cutting it. So I hefted it up and I held it on my shoulder. I'm like, okay, this is more comfortable for me. I know that I can make it down and back with it here and then gently set it down without any issues.
Yeah.
What I was amazed for me was kind of the keg presses. I think they said it was like 87 pounds for the keg press, and it was more of an awkward lift.
Yep.
And they said as long as one hand remained on the keg, you're fine. So you're shifting it to move it around to go to the different arms for what arm is higher up and which arm is shorter. And I mean, they were like, okay, you're at 6. And I'm like, okay, I can do a few more. And so I kind of not paying attention, not counting myself. And they're like, oh, you're at 12. And I'm like, okay, I feel good. I can do a little more. And for me, it was like, I got to 25 and I'm like, that's it. Okay, good. I'm done now. I'm walking away.
See, you did better at that than I did. My thing was, this really showed me that I've spent a lot of time on running and not enough time on lifting, because I did with the deadlifts. I think I got 23 or 24. I think on the deadlift, and then on the keg, I only got like 7 or 8. And it was just one of those that I'm like, okay, yeah, I have not been working on my lifting enough. So that's somewhere that I need to work on. And like you said, this was a real good base to kind of figure out some of the stuff I needed to work on. Because I haven't been doing heavy lifting. So it was cool to kind of see that and kind of really get that gauge on this. So.
Do you like the BeastNet? Do you want to keep hearing it? Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more at BeastNet Pod.
So I really enjoyed it. And like you said, I mean, it was one of those, that mile run, there was a lot of that they put into that mile. So, and that the 8-foot wall wasn't so bad. The 12-foot wall was quite interesting, trying to do that, pretty much Batman walk up the side of the wall. And for me, everyone always says I do it weird, because a lot of people will climb the wall till they can reach an arm up. I will climb the wall till I can get a foot over.
Yeah.
So I put a foot over first, because if I can get my foot over the wall, then I can use my legs to pull me over. So, and that's kind of what I did. I walked up the wall until I could get 1 foot over. And then once I got my
Yeah.
foot over it, then I kind of pulled myself the rest of the way up and over.
I know that we've just kind of been focusing on the first event that they had towards the end of September, right?
Yes,
Which
that was
the
the one at
Battle of
first,
the
the
High
end of September. And I mean, I know we talked about that. We've talked about that quite a bit. I love that event. But then both of us went back in October.
We went back in October. We went back I think it was the 17th,
Yep.
16th or 17th of October. So we
And
went
we went
back
to the, I
there.
can't remember the name of the snow park.
It was the Troops Challenge,
The Troops
the
Challenge, but
Rise Troops Challenge event.
they had it at some random at a snow park up there above Bend. So
Yeah,
this one we even went
Wamilga.
another like 2,000 feet up.
And so what I did like about it is they gave you both options. They gave you options with that. They gave you a 3-mile option, short course,
Yeah.
or they gave you the long course option. I don't know the gentleman that works with her setting up those courses. He was the bigger guy, dreadlocks and everything.
Yeah. I can't remember his name either.
He and I were talking before I started off running, and he said it's 7-ish miles, right? You
Yep.
know, knowing Tammy, it's 7-ish miles on the course. But I decided I wanted to go for the long course, and again, I took it as one of those. Okay, this was a troops challenge, right? So it was military based. There were things that we would have to do that had we gone to an A schoolish type for military army boot camp, or maybe a special forces for whatever, that we would run into some of these. And so again, I took it as that aspect. You know, I had tactical pants, more or less, some tactical running shoes versus tennis shoes. Again, it started off cold in the morning, so you know I was dressed for that environment. And as the day progressed, I mean, it got hot. You know,
It did.
So again, it was trying to figure out the breathing on the course. And then once I had the breathing down, it's like, okay, I've done some of these obstacles before, shouldn't be a big issue. And I mean, yes, you had to memorize, you had to use memory. Again,
Yep.
I went as an individual, and
You don't remember it all.
I mean, yeah. Well, the thing about it is even as an individual, doesn't mean you're out there for yourself, right? I mean, we had a hard time finding the dog tag in the beginning. One of the gentlemen who started off before me had a hard time. So as a group, we tried to find the dog tag. Once we finally found it, it's like, okay, boom, boom, boom. This is how we read. Leaving that and then going back to the main course. When I got back to the grenade toss, the group that was there at the grenade toss, I said, hey, you're going to go up here. There's going to be a clearing. In the middle of the clearing, you'll see the Styx fork, right? That way they knew what general area to look. They weren't going to go too far. They weren't going to get lost. They were going to, I mean, hey, you're out there to challenge yourself, but I mean, if you can help somebody, I mean, help, in my opinion. You know, if they need help with a wall, ask, you know, before you assist. But I mean, we're all there to get something done. We're all there to finish, you know, and we learn what we need to challenge ourselves on, right? In my opinion.
And that is so true. We're all there to finish. We're all there to enjoy ourselves. And I mean, that was kind of my thing going up on this adventure. I mean, it was one of them, like you said, you did the long course. That was my choice too. I wanted the long course. And a lot of the reason why is because, well, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you do the long course? I mean, considering that for one, we drove how long to get there?
Yeah. I know, maybe 6-hour drive.
Yeah.
6-hour plus. You know, that is the thing. I'm driving 6 hours to do 3 miles, or I'm driving 6 hours to do 7 miles.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it was.
Granted, other people would look at us and go, "You guys are crazy."
Yeah.
But I mean, part of it's, for me, part of it's also the drive. I like to drive, and it's the scenery, you know. I mean, I drove through the mountains to get there, and then when you got on the plateau, like going into Bend, that it's just all open. And I mean, I don't know what peak I saw, but I mean, it looked like there was wind blowing and kind of snow drift, or the clouds were coming off the top of this like chimney rock type deal off the top of it. And I was like, you can't get that everywhere.
No.
You know, so I mean, enjoy the scenery where it's at.
Well, that's what's nice too, because usually when me and Amber go down, I mean, we drove down Friday, and I mean, you were there till Sunday too, but we drove down Friday and we stayed until Sunday. So we made a weekend, getaway for us out of it. So, part of that getaway was, me going to do the race, but then after that, it was, lunch with you and Jesse and everybody else, and then it was time for me and her to have just, a nice weekend getaway. So, it was good because both times we turned it into a weekend getaway too. So it was fun. I mean, it was blast. It was good to see people I don't get to see much. But then the race itself was just, I mean, the way they put it together, like you said, cold as can be in the morning. But then by the time we finished in the afternoon, or not afternoon, I guess, finished the race, it was cold. I mean, not warm. It was very warm.
I think part of what we need to look at is every day, at least for me, every day it's been work and workout, work and workout. And like you said, you and Amber made a weekend of it. For me, it was, I had the week off prior to, but it was more of the relaxation side of it. Okay, I was able to take a nice long road trip drive. I could take my time getting out there. I didn't have to rush. I didn't have to feel rushed or anything like that. I could get there. I got there the day before. I had enough time to rest, to eat, to kind of go find out where the venue was. That way I wasn't that morning trying to figure out, oh my God, where am I going? Right? Where do I go? Where do I park? Where's this at? I mean, so I had time to explore. And then the day of the event, I didn't have to feel rushed afterwards to drive home, to rush and do anything. I could relax, take time. We had the nice lunch, dinner-ish type deal with the group. I mean, like you said, Jesse, Amber, yourself, and Tatiana. And I mean, that group, we were able to sit and actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that some people have been missing out on as well, because we've all been stuck in our own little worlds, just in our own bubbles, not able to get out. And so many people that we saw, friends, from Oregon, from Washington, and we were able to actually have a good time, chat, joke it up, and kind of get back to that bonding-ish camaraderie. And then,
That's why we all do this to begin with.
We go back to our own lives, but hey, I'm still alive.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. I mean, it was great to see everyone. And like I said, this event, I mean, the first event was great. This event was good because it was two different events. It wasn't the same event the second time. It was completely different location, different obstacles.
Does your business need first aid, AED, OSHA, flagging, or other safety training? James Safety Services is your one-stop shop. Find them on Facebook today at James Safety Services WA and ask for a quote on hosting your training needs.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.